Paul McCartney rocked Market Square Arena last night for about 2.5 hours. He's back tonight for a second sold-out show. It is McCartney's second trip to Indianapolis. His last appearance here was in 1964 with the Beatles. All those years ago, the Beatles made headlines with their music and their free-form news conferences. Well, just about an hour ago, Paul McCartney met with the local media and proved, despite the passing of 25-plus years, he still has his charm. He's 47 years old now. Once a teen idol, he's now a legend. But the boyish grin and the quick wit remain.
Hi. Is it warm enough? Jacket off? Yeah, go for it. Right.
Paul McCartney says it's good to be back in Indianapolis, a place he calls a friendly city. He says he has memories of the day in August of 1964 when the Beatles invaded Indianapolis and got into a bit of mischief.
I remember a couple of guys went out with a couple of policemen and stayed up all night drinking. That's my memory.
Were you one of the guys?
No, it was the other guys. I was sensible. I went to bed.
When he last toured in 1976, Paul played only a handful of Beatles tunes. This time around, he's playing about 15. McCartney says the last 14 years have put those songs in a different light.
We had that period after the breakup of the Beatles where everyone got away from Beatles stuff, and it was like, you know, it was like a divorce, and it was like the old wife, you know, and we just didn't want to know about that period. Or at least we wanted to try and distance ourselves from it so that there would be some life after Beatles, you know, because it was looking dodgy at one point. It was looking like we could never follow that act. But we all managed to in various ways, you know. But now the thing is, there's enough time gone down that there's no bad feeling now, you know. So when I just look at those songs, I just look at them as it's either a good song or a bad song.
Well, the news conference ended about 25 minutes ago now. We'll have more at 11 o'clock. A couple of things he did talk about. He'd like to see George and Ringo get back together with him. He's made that clear in the past, and he said that he's hoping that they can resolve their differences and do something, he said, in private. It won't be a real public thing like the Grammy Awards. Some think they might get together on the Grammy Awards. He said that won't happen.
George doesn't want to anyway, so we'll have to see if George agrees to go. Okay.
Maybe in time. And he also says he will keep recording. He says he keeps trying to write that elusive, perfect song, so look for more music from Paul McCartney. I think we all welcome that news.
Oh, sure, and I was there last night. He is gray now, but he's still got all his hair.
So still has that smile, doesn't he?
He's still very boyish, yes, and in his quality came across, yeah. Yeah, terrific.
We got to tell you, George Bush has not started his news conference.
McCartney took to the stage at Market Square Arena, and even before the music started, you could hear the roar of the crowd. The ticket promoters say the McCartney concert reminds them of the Rolling Stones show not long ago, with songs that have become legendary. And the fans heard the best of two kinds of music, old hits from the Beatles and the latest from McCartney himself. And about an hour ago, McCartney sat down with some reporters at a news conference before tonight's performance, and our Deb Darnell was there. Deb, what'd you think of him?
Well, Barbara, he looks impressive, he speaks impressively, and yet he's also a very laid-back person. He tells us he's having simply a good time on tour, and he plans to travel again like this in the years to come. He's also dropping hints of future projects with former members of the Beatles. Well, first we talked to Paul about the tour itself, and here's some of what he had to say.
You know, the first time we came over here, we played L.A., Chicago, and New York, in America anyway. And this time we're playing the kind of what I'd call the more people-y cities. You know, because L.A. and New York particularly are very sophisticated, and Chicago to some degree is pretty sophisticated. So you get a lot of rich people, you get a lot of yuppies or whatever, you know. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're maybe not as good an audience as you'd like. So I like coming to places that are a bit more people-y, you know.
Later, we asked McCartney about getting together with those former Beatles.
But I wouldn't rule out the fact that maybe George, me, and Ringo might get together and play some music somewhere quietly. But it certainly won't happen like as public directly as the Grammys or somewhere. We'd have to get to know each other before that, you know. It's been a long time. But I think, you know, the actual reunion question is a no-no. But anything else might happen. We've got a film project we've been talking about for a long time that might be something we could get together on.
Tonight's show, another start at 8 o'clock, a sellout or very close to it. But Barbara, of course, if you're bound to see him, you can always look to the scalpers for that. But McCartney says he'd get rid of the scalpers if he could. Doesn't like them.
Okay, Deb, what did you think about him? Did you go in with any kind of preconceived notions of what you thought he might be like?
Well, I won't fool you. I was excited to see him. He looks very, very good. Those boyish eyes are great to watch. And as I said, he's very laid back and very comfortable talking about himself and talking about the Beatles, too. There's no hard feelings, no problems talking about the old songs or the old people that he used to work with. So he's really come around.
First person to win 12 and Something Extra nominee is coming up.
In 26 years, David McAnally says the ex-Beatle has one big recollection of that first time.
Sellouts on 4 continents.
Thank you, ma'am.
Millions of die-hard fans.
It's taken me how many years to see Paul McCartney? 64, 16, 26 years, yeah. I'm real excited.
And that enduring sound. 3 ingredients in the Friends of the Earth World Tour, plus 1 more.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
This is the second leg of Paul McCartney's world tour, and Indianapolis marks a turning point.
The first time we came over here, we played L.A., Chicago, and New York, in America anyway. And this time we're playing the kind of what I'd call the more people-y cities.
Cities like Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
It's kind of more exciting for us to come back on this leg of the tour because we're playing, you know, Detroit, Cincinnati, Indianapolis. It's more mid-America kind of thing.
I need somebody help.
McCartney was last year as a Beatle in 1964, but he has few memories of that Indy visit.
I remember a couple of guys went out with a couple of policemen and stayed up all night drinking.
20 years since the Beatles. Is it time now for a reunion, maybe at this year's Grammy?
Somebody asked George, will there be a Beatles reunion? And he said, no, not as long as John Lennon's dead. But I wouldn't rule out the fact that maybe George, me, and Ringo might get together and play some music somewhere quietly.
Till then, he'll go it alone. David McAnally, News Center 13.
People headed to the concert will enjoy themselves. I have to take exception with Jill Warren's review in the Star this morning. I thought it was a very exciting show.
Was his voice a little rough?
A little hoarse. She was right on that. She had seen him in Chicago. Maybe that's why the excitement level was down. But she and I agree on the fact that Sgt. Pepper is a killer tune. You'll love it.
He's so unaffected, too.
Yeah.
Recorded, and by the time we were ready to kind of tour with them, we'd broken up as a touring band, and we're just recording. So things like Hey Jude and Sgt. Pepper and Fool on the Hill are like brand new songs to me. It's very nice.
She lives right here in Indianapolis. We'll meet.
I got it made.
I know it. Big time, mate.
Scoring machine. Okay, guys, thanks a lot.
Thanks. Let's find out now what's coming up at 5:30 with Patty and Ken.
Mike and Debbie, we're going to head on a magical mystery tour, and we're not even going to leave Central Indiana. Can you believe that?
I believe it if you tell me it's
The
true.
icy roads, you got to stay home anyway, right? Coming up next on our 5:30 news, one of the true legends in music is in Indianapolis tonight for a concert. Former Beatle Paul McCartney will be on the stage for the first of 2 shows to play a concert at the State Fairgrounds. Now, let's shuttle ahead 25 and a half years. The long and winding road brings Paul McCartney back to Indianapolis. Now a former Beatle and a rock and roll legend, McCartney will play 2 sold-out shows at Market Square Arena beginning tonight. Yes, Paul is in town. The concert is now just 2.5 hours away, and the anxiety is building.
And in just a moment, we'll meet some people who wish they could see McCartney.
Paul McCartney's critically acclaimed world tour is in Market Square Arena for the next 2 nights. And the last time the 47-year-old singer stepped foot on Hoosier soil, the world was a different place.
May I present the Beatles!
Back in 1964, TV crews shot in black and white and on film. Paul McCartney was a mere lad from Liverpool, the dream of girls, the envy of boys. The screams were just as loud 12 years later in 1976 when a now married Paul McCartney toured America, but not Indianapolis, with his band Wings. Tonight, with a new band, McCartney comes full circle. A figure of 8, if you will. Hoosiers aren't the only ones excited about McCartney's appearance here. This man took the week off, drove down from London, Ontario, and bought a ticket for $100 this afternoon.
My friends are Beatle fans. They wish they could afford it and go, but some of them think I'm really nuts.
And how about these guys? They're from Atlanta, Georgia. They've been following McCartney all around the country. Using vacation time, they're seeing as many shows as they can get in.
Right now, we're talking 2, 4, 5, and there'll be 5 more that we have tickets in hand for. We call it the Fans on the Run tour.
Yeah, I'd rather do this with my vacation than sit around on the beach.
This afternoon, with showtime still 5 hours away, scalpers were asking $100 for tickets, and there were rumors of prime seats going for $200. Scalpers have this market cornered. So let's pretend I wanted tickets to the show. Are there any left?
No.
No tickets at all?
None whatsoever.
And this Greenwood man wonders what all the fuss is about. I had to explain to him who Paul McCartney is. Can you believe people are paying up to $200 a ticket to see Paul McCartney?
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you.
$200?
Uh-huh.
Well, they shouldn't complain about paying $29 for a Colts ticket then, should they?
I guess not, Norman. The show starts tonight at 8 o'clock at MSA. It includes 15 Beatles songs. Paul will do Fool on the Hill, Eleanor Rigby, and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It's a great show, and, you know, if you love the Beatles, this may be the last hurrah. Paul McCartney's 47. It's been 13 years since he toured last. And something to point out, he's had some voice problems in the past couple of weeks, and he's cut a few songs out of the tour, the last few shows he's done, so it'll be interesting to see if he's back to full shape tonight and if he can do a full show for us.
And you saw him in Chicago just recently?
Saw him, great show. We'll talk some more about that later.
Oh, good. Well, it has been about 13, 14 years.
And beginning in just a few minutes, we'll have Stan Wood and the weather.
That's right.
But first, two of the shows will be their memories of the Beatles. 26 years ago, the Beatles made their only appearance in Indiana. And as our Neil Moore reports, the 2 State Fair concerts recall many memories.
This was the scene in 1964 when the Beatles came to Indianapolis. There to provide security and serve as an escort was Indiana State Police Trooper Jack Marks. As the group took to the stage in the Fairgrounds Coliseum, Marks saw and heard something that would change America.
May I present the Beatles!
The noise level was just unbelievable. I would say for the biggest part, you couldn't even hear them playing.
Marks says Ringo was funny, George aloof, John a wise guy, and Paul the crowd favorite.
Yeah, he was the ladies' choice, I would say, out of the bunch, because they would scream, Paul, Paul, you know. And
doesn't this sometimes scare you just a little?
No, you're joking. It wouldn't scare me at all. Probably scare me if nothing had happened, you know.
But something did happen, something very big. The images from a quarter of a century ago remain vivid. The long hair, the screaming girls, packed news conferences, guarded hotels, brazen fans hoping for an autograph or anything the Beatles might have touched.
They were certainly an impact on the American teenager at the time, who is now the American adult running for office.
In some ways, the generation gap has not narrowed. 39-year-old Bob Cavoyan is an admitted Beatles fanatic. 60-year-old Jack Marks is no lover of rock and roll.
no, I never really did care for it then, and I don't now.
But Marks found the Beatles likable lads. Most of us did. And because of John Lennon's murder, a genuine Beatles reunion will never happen. But the Paul McCartney concerts will take us very close to that magic, close to the days of our youth. In Indianapolis, Neil.
Feelings tonight. It's been more than a quarter century since Paul McCartney last set foot on Hoosier soil. Tonight, more than 17,000 people let him know they haven't forgotten the lad from Liverpool. This was the scene as McCartney took the stage. We'll hear hear more from the McCartney concert in just a moment. First, a look, though, at the fans who made up that sellout crowd tonight, some of whom have been waiting for this night for years, if not decades. The first thing you notice about the crowd is the age range. Older people, young people, even little kids came for a taste of Beatlemania 1990 style. What do you know about Paul McCartney?
That he used to be a Beatle, one of the Beatles.
McCartney's 47, and it's hard to believe it's been 20 years since the Fab Four went their separate ways. He last toured in 1976. He performed only a handful of Beatle tunes then, but this time around, half his show is a blast from the mop-topped past. And that pleases fans. These two guys became Beatle fans in 1975. They were 8 then. The band had broken up 5 years before, but that didn't matter. These music students say the Beatles are timeless.
Well, for one thing, they use real instruments. Yeah, they don't have synthetic sounds. They have feeling, meaning. Yeah, they have feeling and soul. Now you plug in a machine and you put in words and you have a song.
For this Indianapolis woman, a $28 ticket was a passport to a simpler time.
May I present the Beatles!
In the summer of 1964, the Beatles made their only Indianapolis concert appearances at the State Fairgrounds. 12-year-old Bridget Lake, her 2 cousins, and a friend had front row seats.
It was just the greatest day.
That's right. The same Bridget Lake attended the McCartney show Wednesday. It's been 25.5 years, but once a Beatlemaniac, always a Beatlemaniac.
I'm the one on the very end that has the most embarrassing footage that appalled my 4-year-old son today, who couldn't believe it was me.
Are you going to scream and shake your hair again tonight?
It's very possible. I think seeing that Beatles thing all over again and seeing Paul, who was every young girl's favorite again, is going to be a highlight tonight.
You got me running in a bigger bag. Don't know if I'm coming or going, I'm burning your leg. Around and around every week I go. I gotta know. Is it better to love one another than to go for a walk in the dark? Walk in the dark. Is it better to love than to give it away?
Still rocking at 47.
Great, yeah.
Yes, he does.
Now, earlier we heard that scalpers were getting up to $200 a ticket. Did that hold true?
Those were for the prime seats, and earlier today they were indeed getting about $100 a seat, Mike, but scalpers told me they had a very bad night. They were getting about $30 a ticket. That's about face value. By the end of the night, 5 minutes before showtime, tickets were going for $5 or $10. Face value was about $30 again.
They want to get out of the rain
before the show, and about 20 minutes into the show, there were still scalpers outside wandering around with aimless looks on their faces.
Bad planning.
While clutching tickets for tomorrow's memories. When the Fab Four touched down in Seattle for the first time, the welcome was warm and loud. But one fan who avoided this mayhem was eagerly awaiting the motorcade's arrival downtown. She was plotting ways to get Paul McCartney's attention when the limo pulled up outside a waterfront hotel.
And I had it sort of in the back of my mind that I was going to hurl myself onto this. Paul would see me. He would be struck dumb by my boldness and no doubt stop the car, invite me in, and who knows what would happen after that.
Connie was just 13 when the Beatles came to town. It was the highlight of her young life.
When I saw the limousine approach, I thought, this is it. I've got to do it. This is the one and only chance I'll ever come close. I got up to the back window, and I just started hammering as hard as I could on the window to get their attention. And I looked in, and they were there. I mean, they were real. I couldn't believe they were real.
But Connie's moment of teen ecstasy ended when police pried her from the car and sent her to stand with the rest of the crowd. But the glow of that wondrous moment lives even now.
Don't think I can quite find it in myself to hurl myself on his limo this time around. But if the opportunity presents itself, who knows?
King 5 News tonight. And his music.
Where you probably know that Paul McCartney is in Seattle tonight.
Tomorrow night's the big concert at the Kingdome, but tonight we had the opportunity to talk with Paul and Linda McCartney, and the conversation touched on a variety of subjects, including McCartney's last stop at the Kingdome 14 years ago.
But last time we were here, we kind of had a good sound system, and it seemed to go down well, the show. So we've got an even better system this time, so I'm feeling good about it.
The Kingdome's sold-out audience felt pretty good about it back then when the Kingdome held its first big concert. And tonight, McCartney reflected on that and on his beginnings.
When we came into music, we really just didn't want to get a job. I mean, all of us, we were like, what, you know, 17, 18. And we kind of knew we didn't want to get fixed with the blinkers like, you are now an accountant. You are not an accountant. You've just retired. Thank you. I'll die. You know, we knew we didn't want that. We knew we wanted, like, some joy, some freedom in our lives. So we all, you know, got into bands.
When that band touched down in Seattle for the first time, the welcome was warm and loud. McCartney says he has always loved his audience. They, he says, are part of the joy of playing music.
Well, the fun part is the effect it has on people. I mean, I love singing. There is a joy just in singing, you know, like in running about and skipping. You know, there's a physical joy in doing something groovy like that, you know. There's a word for you.
The McCartneys are using the current Flowers in the Dirt tour in part to further the cause of the environment, something that he and his wife Linda feel very strongly about.
You've basically seen devastation of the environment in the 70s and 80s rather than what should have been after the 60s, a great cleanup, you know, where everyone got hip and realized where we're living, you know, that there aren't two of these Earths, you know, or not to my knowledge anyway.
And Linda McCartney says her efforts are focused on getting people to become vegetarians.
I'd like to open people's minds, is what I'd like to open, if you want to know the truth. I'd really like people to stop eating flesh, or as a friend says, a slab of fear. I think that, to me, I think the environment would take care of itself if people stopped eating murdered animals.
But when the lights come on tomorrow night and the legendary McCartney hits the stage at the Kingdome, the real focus will be on one thing. Kingdome will be jammed to hear that concert tomorrow night. It's sold out in 4 hours. We'll have highlights for you at 11 o'clock tomorrow night.
Someone else on our staff got a real close-up look at the McCartneys tonight. Teresa Maxey, who works here at Como, was asked to do Paul's makeup for tonight's interview. She says meeting a star like Paul McCartney is a dream come true.
It was neat because you got to really get a feel for who they were and met their kids, and they were great, and it was just a really nice experience all around, not what you'd expect meeting a superstar.
The McCartneys even showed Teresa some of the clothes they bought earlier in the day here in Seattle.
She wasn't at all excited about that.
You think she'll ever talk to us again?
No, probably not. Steve Poole says here comes the sun again, but will it last?
Day. And he performs tonight in the Kingdome. Reporter Julie Blacklow waiting with the awaiting fans right now. Julie?
Good afternoon, everyone, from the Kingdome, where people, as you can see behind me, are already arriving for a very big party tonight here. About 65,000 people are expected for the first part of the kickoff of McCartney's American tour. He's been all over the world already, and he kicks off about an 8-city tour tonight at the Kingdome. By the way, he opened his Wings tour 14 years ago, also here at the Kingdome, and he says he's glad to be back. In fact, a couple of hours ago, Paul McCartney, we met him at a press conference, and I asked him about how he feels about today's music and his kids listening to the explicit lyrics.
I mean, that was why we broke up, actually. You know, my kids like people like James Brown and the Commodores and Otis Redding and Jimi Hendrix, so, you know, I'm with them. And the point you made about the lyrics and all this sort of, you know, censorship, yeah, I'm concerned as a parent for kids, but I don't really know if you'll help by censoring it. It's like telling kids not to smoke, you know, that's what makes them go and smoke. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, you tell them, this record is bad for you, that's the one they're going to buy.
He knows all about that, and his my parents used to worry.
And after all the...
I'll mention more about that in just a moment. Paul is a regular money machine on this one-night stand. Take from ticket sales alone about $1.5 million. And 800 people will be working here tonight, everyone from security folks to soda pop vendors. Despite it all, though, I've got to tell you from personal experience and otherwise, we all know that Paul has been very gracious, very accessible to the media. In fact, he held a press conference here at the Kingdom at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and actually, Como's Brian Johnson tells us it was more like McCartney was holding court.
Paul McCartney meets the press, and the press applauds. A mayor would love questioners like these. Many veteran reporters could be heard muttering, "I'm nervous." But McCartney is the type who can make nervousness disappear.
Well, holy smoke, glass sakes. No. Hello. How are you? I've called you here today to discuss some very serious matters.
The most serious matter to many is who is really in Seattle. Is it a former Beatle or a member of Wings? After the split up of the Beatles, John Lennon referred to Paul McCartney's new music as pizza and fairy tales.
I'm not ashamed of being sentimental. I think too many people are ashamed of that kind of stuff. I think it's where it's at myself.
The Paul McCartney on the posters and who will be on stage tonight is a combination of the old and the new.
The Beatles songs seem to fit very well with the new songs, which is one of the things we were worried about, that the Beatles stuff might just outclass everything else. It doesn't seem to have done that.
The new Paul McCartney is disarming, charming, and alarmed. Alarmed by what we are doing to our environment. That's the big change, his new message.
You know, we know we've been wrecking it. We know we put concrete on everything and spoil all sorts of, animal habitats and all that. But we kind someone will fix it. But with a whacking great hole 50 miles wide in the sky that's letting cancer in, or, whatever it's doing, I think most people agree that's not clever anymore.
While McCartney sings of love for family, for friends, he talks of love for the earth. He insists both messages are getting through and calls himself an optimist. If you don't have tickets tonight, when can you see him here again?
Well, next time. See you. Goodbye. Thank you.
Brian Johnson, Como News 4.
As I mentioned, as you just saw, McCartney has been gracious to everyone during his stay in Seattle, including his fans. We want to show you something. We caught sight of him talking to a lucky few fans down at Caroline Point on the east side in Kirkland this afternoon. And it's a story we'll elaborate a little more on for you on Como News 4 at 6:30. Paul went for a boat ride on Lake Washington this afternoon, and a few people who'd been waiting all day to see him got their chance. They were amazed that he was so kind. They said it was an incredible thrill, and our John Larson will have more at 6:30, Kathy and Dan. So we'll be showing you more of that, and we'll be back here live because, of course, the crowd will swell by 6:30, but I've got to tell you, there are a lot of people here right now. Hopefully they all have tickets. You guys all have tickets? Yeah, that's a good thing. Good thing, because someone just came up to me and said, do you know where I can buy tickets? And I've seen people wandering around. They're going to have a tough time. By the way, parking, $15 at a nearby lot.
I'm glad you let them applaud back there. They were so quiet for you during that whole report.
Yeah. Back to you.
Thank you,
Carrie.
Bruce King joins us now with sports.
Out of years, Paul McCartney is back on tour again. He plays the Seattle stage tonight for the first time in 14 years, and a sellout crowd is waiting at the Kingdom. We calculate that some 50,000 fans, they paid $30 each, and they're lining up to see what should be a great show.
And out there with him, Michael, is our very own Beatle and McCartney fan, Julie Blacklow. Julie?
Indeed, indeed. I saw him at his first American concert in 1964. A lot of these people here tonight are first-time McCartney concert goers. This is the kickoff of his American tour. He's just back from Japan yesterday, and they're expecting a crowd, actually, Michael, you said about 50,000, 65,000 estimated today, $30 a ticket, not to mention the programs and T-shirts and buttons being sold here tonight. But they're all excited, and we talked to a number of them a little while ago.
I really like him. Waited a lifetime for this set.
Those gorgeous eyes. I mean, he can get away with anything, and oh, I'm just flabbergasted.
My mom just dragged me here.
I love Paul McCartney. He's great. He's a legend.
He's a legend.
He's a legend.
He's not too old for you.
No, never too old.
Oh, he's old, but he's cute.
He's old? Well, he's only 47.
Yeah, but that's over twice as old as I am.
She's my wife. Paul
I have a feeling she'd go with Paul.
Oh, anytime, anywhere. I'd sell my soul to see him.
I've loved him ever since I was young. My dad plays Beatles a lot, and I started to get liking him, so.
What's your favorite Beatles song?
Probably Here Comes the Sun.
Jump, probably.
Well, that's my real one, so. Yeah. Yesterday and Here Comes the Sun. So.
Fans of all ages, you can tell from some of those interviews. One of the issues that McCartney is talking about in his worldwide tour, and he will talk about it here tonight, is the environment. He's associated himself with Friends of the Earth, a national group that wants to save the environment. And earlier today, a few hours ago at 3 o'clock, we went to a press conference, and we asked McCartney to talk about the issues that matter to him, the environment. This is what he had to say.
Most people. It certainly was for me, you know, the idea that, you know we've been wrecking it. We know we put concrete on everything and spoil all sorts of, you know, animal habitats and all that. But we kind of, oh, yeah, you know, someone will fix it. But with a whacking great hole 50 miles wide in the sky that's letting cancer in, or, you know, whatever it's doing, I think most people agree that's not clever anymore. So I, like everyone else, got frightened. You know, I've got 4 kids, as I say. I don't want them to grow up in this place where you can't go on a beach, because the sun's a bad thing, you know. I mean, you've got to put sunblock on just to walk out in the street, you know. I think that's quite a scary idea. And then with these oil spills and all this sort of stuff you've been having lately, you know, I really think we've got to do something about that.
McCartney is a devoted family man, as you can see. He really cares about his kids and these issues, and an all-around really nice guy. Still cute.
After all these years.
Julie, that's what everyone who's seen him has said. What a gentleman, what a nice fellow for somebody who's achieved that celebrity status. He also had some pretty interesting things to say about censorship of music, too, didn't he?
Yeah, we heard about that at 5 o'clock. I asked him, some of our kids are the same age, and I asked him how he felt about letting his kids listen to some of the rap music today and the explicit language in those songs. And he said, I'm deeply concerned about it, but I don't believe you. As soon as you tell somebody not to look at something, they want to look at it. That's true. So he advises his kids and tells them what he thinks about what they're listening to, but doesn't censor them, doesn't believe in that at all. But a lovely guy, really nice to be around.
Julie, thanks. Have fun tonight.
Thank you. I will.
Well, Julie was talking about environmentalists. The McCartney concert is sweet music indeed for some local environmentalists. They belong to Friends of the Earth. That is the group McCartney adopted on this tour. Friends of the Earth has 50,000 members in the United States, but only a couple of offices. One of them is right here. King 5 environmental reporter Scott Miller has more.
Tucked away in the U District is the only American Friends of the Earth office outside of Washington, D.C. To get there, you go up the stairs past the dentist's office and down a dimly lit hallway. This is not a big-budget operation.
Shellfish can only be restored if the sediment starts to come back
Here,
down.
a staff of 4 lobbies against oil drilling off the Washington coast and gets by on less than $100,000 a year. Now they are the unlikely beneficiaries of a boost from one of rock's richest stars.
To some extent, it's like going platinum with the exposure.
I don't mean anything bad by that.
No.
Paul McCartney knows Friends of the Earth as Britain's biggest environmental group. On his American tour, Friends of the Earth gets a plug at every stop.
As a member of Friends of the Earth, I'm urging you to help us. When you come and see my show, look for the huge Rescue the Future card, or ask someone where you can sign it.
Friends of the Earth gets to sell 300 tickets to each concert as an enticement to new members. Then there's T-shirt sales at the show. It's all worth about $500,000, a pittance compared to what McCartney himself will make. But Executive Director Michael Clark says the publicity has no price tag.
Because of the McCartney relationship, we've had some queries from other rock stars and from big-name entertainers saying, what can we do? And so we're investigating that, and I know that other environmental groups are having the same experience. So rockin' and rollin' for the environment, green music may be here to stay.
Environmentalists believe today's rock and roll fans are a vast, untapped resource. Still, more than half of the people who joined Friends of the Earth by buying McCartney tickets said they care more about the music than the cause. In Seattle, I'm Scott Miller, King 5 News.
Money from the McCartney concerts will allow local Friends of the Earth staffers to travel more around this region. It's still unknown, though, how big a cut of the proceeds will come Seattle's way. By the way, a lot more on that McCartney.
And former Wings band leader has a new group. About a half an hour, they'll be tuning it up and airing it out before a sellout crowd at the Kingdome. And here we are again live at the Kingdome. Look at all those people walking They're walking inside the Kingdome, where they will sit quietly, be terribly, terribly well behaved, we are sure, because frankly, most of them are my age. If you're here and not there, don't fret, because we got Paul too. 12.5 minutes of Paul, unedited. He's going to talk about everything from the Beatles to Jimi Hendrix, from kids to the environment. But first, here's McCartney on his fans.
The interesting thing about this tour is there's been a very wide spread of age groups. We get kind of fellas bringing their kids. You know, they got their kids on their shoulders. It's like, you know, that's the one I was telling you about kind of thing. We get a lot of that, and then it goes through to the kind of 20-year-olds, which I think makes up the most of the audience. Then it comes through to the 40-year-olds, and finally you get like the blue-rinsed ladies, which is, you get them. It's quite amazing seeing them bopping at 70. Oh, I don't know, it feels good. I started out, you know, in Liverpool, we all started out trying to make it in the music business, and it kind of all went a bit beyond that, you know, we made it, and then, as you say, you know, it sort of changed things and changed, I don't know, the world's direction. Well, I mean, we didn't change it, but it was all changing. We ended up as the spokesman for a generation. And it feels good. It feels very good. I'm quite proud to have been associated, very proud to have been associated with the Beatles, quite proud to have been associated with a lot of things from the 60s. I think there were some interesting ideas formulated. Yeah, I'm very lucky my kids do like my music. I always expected them not to. You know, I was always expected, like me and my dad, he liked Chicago and all that, which I still like, but I kind of went on into sort of rock and roll. Funnily enough, my kids have kind of reverted. I think there is a reaction against a lot of the synthetic music that's about. Not there's anything wrong with it, you know, but it is a little bit undeep, some of it. And so my kids like people like James Brown and the Commodores and Otis Redding and Jimi Hendrix, so, you know, I'm with them. And the point you made about the lyrics and all this sort of, you know, censorship, yeah, I'm concerned as a parent for kids, but I don't really know if you'll help by censoring it. It's like telling kids not to smoke, you know, that's what makes them go and smoke. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, you tell them, this record is bad for you, that's the one they're going to buy. Well, they tried it in England. They had a Channel 4 in England used to have kind of explicit films on late at night. And they used to show a little cross in the side of the thing. And those are the ones you watched out for. Hey, it's got a cross, you know, I'm going to watch it. Must be something good in this. So, you know, I think that's the danger of censorship. I actually, you know, wanted to use that as an album title. I like that. Pizza and Fairy Tales. I'm certainly into pizza. I don't see anything wrong with that. You know, I think it's a kind of danger to assume that anything homely is sort of a bit crummy and corny, and something rebellious is like, hey, groovy. In fact, I don't really think the Beatles were totally to do with rebellion. If you look at a lot of the songs, you know, there was quite a lot of romantic songs in our output. Certainly the ones that have lasted, like Yesterday, Here, There and Everywhere, Michelle, All My Lovin'. There's nothing rebellious about them at all. But it was the image of the times. It's like the Rolling Stones, you know, supposed to be the long-haired guys. But if you ever look back, you probably got longer hair than they had then. You know, it's just it's a whole sort of myth that grew up with us with the beat boom, that like we were rebels. We weren't, I don't think, as rebellious as we were made out to be. Certainly the Stones weren't. They were sweet boys, you know, when we first started out. But, so, I don't know, you know, I'm not ashamed of being sentimental. I think too many people are ashamed of that kind of stuff. I think it's where it's at myself. I think that, you know, a lot of ideas were kind of mooted in the 60s that kind of got trampled on because the 60s did go to excess. You know, a lot of the ideas that people tried, they overdid them. And so you had to pull back, you know, most people had to pull back or die. And the people who didn't pull back died, you know. But I do think that looking now at the 70s and the 80s, I can't really see anything that's come up that's better. I can't think of any sort of new 70s or 80s theories that are like any better than a lot of what was put down. For instance, you know, peace and light, man. You know, I still think that's a fairly good idea when you look at like Iraq and Iran, you know, and all of that. Middle East, you know, it still needs a bit of peace and light. I think ecology, which we talked about then, is now a very hot issue because, you know, we tried to sweep it under the carpet, but now we got a hole in the sky and we got to fix that now. So I think that's, you know, possibly what's going to happen in the 90s and the 20s. Personally, I think there's nothing really else that can happen. I think we'll destroy ourselves if we don't look to those kind of theories. Yeah, the only reason really why we got involved this time is that in 1989, the news arrived on the world scene that there was a hole in the ozone layer, you know, and we all know that. And I think that was the final straw for most people. It certainly was for me, you know, the idea that, you know we've been wrecking it. We know we put concrete on everything and spoil all sorts of, you know, animal habitats and all that. But we kind of, oh yeah, you know, someone will fix it. But with a whacking great hole 50 miles wide in the sky that's letting cancer in, or, you know, whatever it's doing, I think most people agree that's not clever anymore. So I, like everyone else, got frightened. You know, I've got 4 kids, as I say. I don't want them to grow up in this place where you can't go on a beach because the sun's a bad thing. You know, I mean, you've got to put sunblock on just to walk out in the street. You know, I think that's quite a scary idea. And then with these oil spills and all this sort of stuff you've been having lately, you know, I really think we've got to do something about that. And normally these press conferences, I'll kind of ask people, you know, anybody doesn't agree with that, to put their hand up. You know, let's have it out right now. And of course, no hands ever go up, you know. So, and I mean, this is right around the world, you know, it's Italy, Japan, everywhere. No one would actually stand up and say, yeah, you know, I think we really should destroy the planet. So that's why we got involved. And all I'm doing is bringing publicity to it. I'm kind of, you know, spokesman one more time for this issue. Well, we haven't released a single of it. We released it in Japan. It was just an idea somebody had, because it was the first record the Beatles made, kind of officially. And a producer, Phil Ramone, had an idea to do like an update of it. So we tried it out in Japan, and we're trying it out in the concerts now. If we think it works, it might get released. It's only released in Japan on a special CD at the moment. But it's a bit of fun. Really. Yeah, it'd be good actually. The only reason we haven't done it is we're touring everywhere else. You know, we just there just hasn't been time this year to do it. But I think it is very exciting that you know, in the 60s we used to hear that the Russian kids were bootlegging in Beatle records and Levi jeans. You know, this was the big thing, and it always used to give me great hope, that, because you used to think, well, you know, whoever it was in power, you know, Brezhnev or someone, he certainly didn't look like he wore jeans, you know, but it was the kids, and that's who, well, he didn't, did he? But you can't deny that. But you know, now you see them all coming through the barriers and through the, you know, knocking the wall down, and there are a lot of them who look very like kids over here, or in you know, in free Europe. So I always thought that was really optimistic, that really we're all alike, you know. It was just they were very repressed and their system obviously didn't work.
McCartney Part 2, as they continue to file in, is still to come. This is Cairo News at 7.
We came full circle. I mean, that was why we broke up, actually. You know, we'd kind of gone about as far as we could go, as the old song said. And in the end, we just had a photo taken that was the exact same as the first album cover, you know. It was, the cycle had ended, you know. It was just getting a little bit bitter, and we were getting a little bit fed up with each other, so we decided it was better to just end it like that, clean, instead of just sort of, you know, trundle on into obscurity. Stories? I don't know. No, he's just a beautiful guy. I loved Jimmy very much. World's greatest guitar player ever. Sweet, humble guy. He was talking to Linda once, and he was wondering about whether he was going to be successful in the States, and he said, do you think they'll let me in at the front door this time? He was a sweet, sweet guy, but a major talent. He was my favorite guitar player ever. Yo, Jimmy. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel pessimistic about this ecology issue. You know, I really do think it's the only place to go. And I think we will go the right direction. I think kids coming on, like I say, you know, there's nobody here put their hand up when I said who wants to destroy the planet. So I think we will get it together. I think the message is coming over loud and clear to the governments. And I do an announcement every night just saying to the kids in the audience, you know, if you get a chance to vote, just tell your politicians you want to live in a clean world. And we did that even in Japan, you know, where I was told this is not a kind of popular issue in Japan, because, you know, they're still wailing away out there. And, but it got a really good response. And I think the kids, I don't think the governments will like me, because, you know, it gives them problems. They've got to expend money cleaning up stuff. But I do think it's going to happen. I don't think there is a lack of action. I think there's a grassroots thing that is happening. I really do, you know. And I think you were starting to see it in Europe. For instance, in Britain last election, there was a Green Party, and everyone knew they couldn't get into the government, but they got like second biggest vote in the whole election, even though everyone knew they couldn't elect them in. They wanted to make a point. They said, look, you know, we go for the Green Party. And even though they got some fairly wacky policies, it's not really a smart group, actually. But the point, well, they're not, you know, it's all like everyone should have £2 a week. It's all that kind of thing. But the point behind it, you know, is that people registered their feeling. And I think you're going to see it here. I think you're seeing it here. I think we'll see it everywhere. I think you just watch the government, what their policies are going to be at the next election. No, it's surprisingly easy, actually. When I was looking at the tour about a year before it, you know, because you've got to make up your mind to go and do that thing and commit. Obviously, you can't just be wishy-washy. You're going to do this amount of work. And I was wondering whether I would, whether it would really take a lot out of me. But I found just the opposite, actually. I'm kind of raring to go every night, you know. And I sweat a lot and stuff, but I always did. But I enjoy it, you know. That's the whole secret for me, you know. I enjoy it. The audience seem to enjoy it. So as long as we both enjoy it, I'm having fun. No, I think, you know, the Beatles was a really great band, and I was really proud to be. I've got it both ways. You know, I'm really proud to have been in the Beatles, and yet I've had this solo career since. I see it as a kind of positive thing. We keep trying to name this band, but it won't name itself. You know, we ended up with Lumpy Trousers. It's not going to go, guys. No. So we decided we can't name it. We're just leaving it. We're just going to play some music. You know, the heck with the name. We could be very flexible, but the truth is, when you get to this kind of level, you know, it all sort of gets on computers and the lighting all gets fixed. So we tend to do the same thing every night. Once or twice we'll just throw in an extra number, you know, if we're feeling crazy and stuff. But that's about as far as it goes. No, it's a good show. It kind of, I think, it spans most of my writing career. It goes back quite early and comes right up to date. Mixture of songs. The Beatles songs seem to fit very well with the new songs, which is one of the things we were worried about, that the Beatles stuff might just outclass everything else. It doesn't seem to have done.
Finally, for the program, yeah, McCartney. It's just about going, and all these people now, they're just all getting into the Kingdom and getting in their seats, and Kevin Penrod, who's been there since about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Do the sports, and you too can have hair, so I'm going to.
They really do.
The Kingdom's packed house got a healthy dose of McCartney's new music tonight from his new album, Flowers in the Dirt.
Well, you got me dancing in a figure eight.
But they also got an earful of the oldies, of the Beatles originals, the Wings super hits, though we weren't allowed to record any of those. There was The Long and Winding Road, Sgt. Pepper, Live and Let Die. It was a mix of music, a sentimental combination of new and old McCartney.
The Beatles songs seem to fit very well with the new songs, which is one of the things we were worried about, that the Beatles stuff might just outclass everything else. It doesn't seem to have done that.
It seemed McCartney was friendly and charming and cordial to just about everyone he met here in Seattle, including those who were lucky enough to spot Paul and Linda as they went for a boat ride on Lake Washington before the concert today.
I just want 5 people like, hi. Hi, girls.
Hi. It's definitely a day for dreams coming true.
Quiet around here just a second ago. What happened?
Paul,
hi, babe. Yeah, okay.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, yeah, I got it, Charles. Okay, thank you.
Right up until the moment that the lights came up at the Dome tonight, the ticket sellers and seekers were out in force. With 50,000 people at $30 a ticket, the McCartneys walked away with $1.5 million tonight, but the fans who were lucky enough to share this night certainly weren't complaining.
Don't know the word at all. It's nothing more than a tinkler.
Oh, he's wonderful. The McCartney Tour. Most popular man in town tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.
Every way's a turn. That's what a father said to his young son. I don't care. Every way's a turn. As long as you and I are here, put it there. As long as you and I are here, put it there.
In Seattle.
The ex-Beatle and superstar in his own right hacked the Kingdom.
If there's a fight, I'd like to fix it. I hate to see things go so wrong.
Tonight's Kingdom concert marked the American debut of McCartney's world tour, and King 5's Julie Blackwell was there to see it. Julie?
Hello from the Kingdom. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I'm going to talk anyway. The concert is over. They had a great time. The concert tonight consisted mostly of old Beatles songs and new songs from his Flowers in the Dirt album. And here's a look at part of the day.
McCartney's visit to Seattle, and this is his program now.
Hours before the concert began, the crowd of 65,000 began arriving for it. Every age, every background, sharing an excitement for one of rock and roll's real legends.
Those gorgeous eyes. I mean, he can get away with anything.
I love Paul McCartney. He's great. He's a legend.
Oh, I've loved him ever since I was young. My dad plays Beatles a lot, and I started to get liking him, so.
What's your favorite Beatles song?
Probably Here Comes the Sun.
No, I really like him. Waited a lifetime for this, seems like.
And here is what they came to see. Okay, we're back here. Everybody's out. They're going home now. They had a great night.
Julie, they did look like they had a good time. Julie, big crowd, excited crowd, but were they orderly?
Yes, they were orderly. Not like this. They had a...
I get your point.
We'll bring you more tomorrow.
I get your point. Thanks very much. Looks like a great time. Julie Blackwell.
5 minutes. Seattle's Kingdom was one big rock and roll party.
To see things go so wrong.
Former Beatle Paul McCartney kicked off the American part of his year-long world tour at the Dome. Sold-out crowd 60,000 came to their feet throughout the night.
Sing along, put it there. Every way's a turn. That's what a father said.
Of all the fans ecstatic to be there, one 14-year-old surely had the biggest thrill of the day. That story from reporter Julie Blacklow.
I bought a Beatles doll, and I have all 4 of them, and so I brought that. He signed it.
While most people picked up a T-shirt, button, or program from the McCartney concert, few left with a collection the likes of Kelly Kaiser's.
Well, this was one of my Beatles pictures, and I had him sign it.
Gifts both given and signed by McCartney, mementos from their quiet time alone before the concert.
And then this was one of the books that they had from Japan, and then he signed it, and right there. Everything does get displayed in my room. You know, it's like I do not put anything in a box. Of course, if it's a Beatles something, it does not go in a box, you know.
14-year-old Kelly was diagnosed with cancer a year ago. Through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, she asked to meet her idol. This is one of the few such meetings McCartney agreed to. Kelly seems to adore him as much as the girls from a couple generations back, including her mother.
Just took your breath away. And it was like, he's really here. And I mean, we were just speechless. Both of us just kind of couldn't say anything.
I was nervous and I was like, I was speechless really, because they were really nice.
This collection will join piles of other pictures back in her Vancouver bedroom and will never ever, she says, be sold. The young Kelly is not the only one with a wish.
That the positive message that's come out of this, that anything and everything is possible when you hope and wish, will continue to come true for us. And for Kelly.
In Seattle, I'm Julie Blacklow, King 5 News.
Nice story. Well, we hope Kelly has a good future. That's it for us tonight. We leave you with... And Paul McCartney fans are basking in the glow of last night's concert. Barbara Matt reports almost everyone, save the scalpers, feel they got their money's worth.
Rave reviews, and a few fans are raving because of the release of good $30 seats late yesterday afternoon, especially since some of these McCartney fans had waited in long lines months ago only to end up near the ceiling of the Kingdome. One side effect of the late ticket release is the blow it dealt to scalpers. Lisa Phelps benefited.
Eventually we had a scalper chasing us around saying, okay, how about $40? And so I said, $40? No, that's crazy. I've had people offer me face value for the ticket. So he said, okay, I'll tell you what, $40 for the pair.
Although promoters wish there could have been better planning for the extra seats, no one knew until the band had its equipment up just how much extra room there would be in the Kingdome. That, they say, is just one of the realities of concerts. But if you judge from the smiles of the people coming out of the concert, most got their money's worth. Barbara Matt, Cairo News.
And for future reference, promoters say late ticket sales are almost a given for most concerts, but there's no predicting how many, if any, of the tickets.
Yeah, a taste of last night's concert. It was a great one. Have a good weekend.
Good night.
Put it there, if it weighs a ton, that's what a father said to his young son. I don't care if it weighs a ton, as long as you and I are here. Put it there, as long as you and I are here. Put it there. I'd like to fix it. I hate to see things go so wrong. The darkest night and all That's what a father said to his young son. I don't care if it weighs a ton, as long as you and I are here, put it there. As long as you and I are here, put it there.
Plus, we'll show you one of the world's biggest Beatles.
Town is full of McCartney stories tonight, and by the end of the concert there's going to be a lot more, but I've heard one of the best ones. One of the most exciting times in Twyla Lyon's life happened last night. Twyla, what was it?
I got to hold Paul McCartney's hand.
You held Paul McCartney's hand. Now, how did you manage that?
Well, it was, it was easy. I just kind of made my way around the guards and got my way up to the car and held his hand. He had the window open.
And what did it feel like?
Great. Felt excellent.
Have you washed that hand yet? This one right here?
No,
this one right
my left.
This one right here. There you go, folks. The hand that held Paul McCartney's hand. Twyla Lyon, enjoy the show tonight. Susie, Gary, back to you.
Well, you know what it was? He saw her standing there.
Here we go.
Yeah, if you know what I mean.
All right. Thank you, Kevin.
Well, there's one of the most enthusiastic fans you'll see at tonight's concert, but there's going to be another one. 27-year-old Tacoma man who was still in diapers when the Beatles first stormed America. He is evidence, as Kevin Baird reports from our Pierce County Bureau, that Paul McCartney and the Beatles are timeless.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you something I think you'll understand.
You know, it's just about impossible to drop by and visit John Jones without sensing an overwhelming passion. His living room is nothing short of a shrine to the Beatles and their timeless music.
The first chord to Hard Day's Night would be strummed, and my body would tingle, and the girls would scream, and the sound that the group had back then was really attractive to me.
He became a Beatles fan at the ripe old age of 3, watching Saturday morning Beatles cartoons. He was only 1 year old when the Fab Four appeared on Ed Sullivan, but he has actually got the videotape. Check it out.
Now, and again in the second half of our show, ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles. Close your eyes.
You'll never know how much I really love you. You'll never know how much I really care. Listen, do you want to know a secret?
He plays the old music on the same model guitars and amplifiers used by the Beatles.
And you are not going to believe all the memorabilia in this place, from an official Ringo tie tack to a 45 record shaped like the Beatles, to an unused ticket stub for the Beatles' last concert in San Francisco.
He still clings to a fantasy that one day he'd like to play piano with Paul McCartney. I'll give you one guess where John Jones is going to be tonight.
You know, I guess being in the same room with him, you know, and I'm not up close, but it'll be fun, and then the reaction of the people.
In Tacoma, Kevin Baird, Cairo News, Pierce County Bureau.
Treasures that John Jones has accumulated over the years are harder and harder to come by now that people are realizing how valuable Beatle memorabilia has become.
But he didn't get to hold his hand.
Well, hang on a sec, Gary. I got to get a ticket. McCartney. Tickets in the paper, man. I don't need this. I don't need this. They're selling tickets. They've been selling tickets since 4 o'clock. Gary, Susie, at face value and on the floor. And I am going to introduce you to one of those lucky people who got a ticket. Lucky Lawrence Smith. That's what his friends are going to be calling him now. Lawrence, you drove down here from Vancouver this afternoon. What did you get?
I got good floor seats right in front of the stage.
And how much did you pay for them?
Cost price, $30 each.
No problem. Just walked right up to the ticket counter and bought one, eh?
Yeah, I was surprised. Really surprised. I was prepared to pay up to $200 for them, but I had to.
Well, you got a little extra pocket money to buy some of those T-shirts and sweatshirts.
Oh, that I'm going to give. I got a list a mile long, sitting in my car waiting for people wanting them up there in Vancouver.
Okay, Lawrence, have fun. Enjoy the show. You heard that. You know, they had about 1,200 tickets to sell, starting about 4 o'clock, and you see people are lining up, hoping they'll be one of the lucky ones like Lawrence Smith from Vancouver. So, I mean, if you think you really have to get down here quick. There might be a ticket there with your name on it. Back to you, Gary and Susie.
All right. Well, that is a stroke of good fortune for a lot of people who thought they were not going to be able to make it into the concert tonight.
I'm going to the line right now.
All right, Kevin. Thanks.
Well, as Kevin was talking about, the surprise of early this morning when extra tickets were released for tonight's big show, Galen Moten tells us that actually 15 minutes after the ticket gates opened, the tickets were sold out, but the die-hard McCartney fans don't give up easily.
You have McCartney tickets?
Snaring one of those elusive last-minute McCartney tickets was a mission that was almost impossible. You had to be in several places at once or get lucky.
I'll take them.
The last two in Seattle, boy.
Thank you so much.
But as of 11 a.m., those were the last two.
Do you know if it's possible more tickets will come available? Have to call Ticketmaster.
Well, they went on sale at 10 o'clock. We sold all that we were given, but I would suggest trying after noon. We might have some more become available.
But if you thought it was tough getting a ticket, how about trying to get up close and personal? That's what some fans were doing outside McCartney's East Side Hotel.
It's going to be surprised to see her coming all the way from London.
Yes, Catherine Gethin is not just lucky. She's practically on a first-name basis with Paul.
I've seen him many times.
Yeah.
Catherine and company have followed the tour all over Europe, and they still haven't got enough.
I'm going to most of the American concerts.
I got up about 7 o'clock this morning, drove down here, and I've been here since about 8:45. Just hoping for a glimpse.
It took a while, but finally fans got what they were waiting for.
Oh my God. Okay.
All right.
Oh God, 2 years on. We stood in line for 13 hours for tickets, and we got really bad seats and everything, and we've just been looking forward to this for so long, and we're just kind of basket cases right now.
But after all, it's Paul McCartney. At Caroline Point, Galen Moten, Cairo News.
And we should explain that there were a batch of tickets that went on sale this morning and sold out, and then the new batch of tickets that Kevin was reporting on this afternoon.
Yeah. Well, we still have a lot more McCartney coverage still ahead in this hour, including several looks back at his career.
I want a better...
Como's John Larson reports McCartney is using his tour and all the publicity to raise money for the environment.
Local music stores are all hyping McCartney music. And just down the street, one local environmental group couldn't be happier.
Oh, it's terrific. You have someone whose name recognition is probably higher than Ronald Reagan's worldwide.
And McCartney is using that name recognition to raise money and memberships for the Friends of the Earth, a worldwide environmental organization.
Oh, well, it's platinum. I mean, you know, it's like going platinum.
McCartney reportedly picked Friends of the Earth for its international clout. It has offices in 39 countries. Whatever the reason, it helps. McCartney donated $250,000 out of his own pocket to Friends of the Earth. He's also donated partial rights to concert T-shirts. And most importantly, he pitches their cause wherever he goes.
And all that helps.
Oh, absolutely. Our membership has gone up.
Membership is up in part because McCartney gave Friends of the Earth thousands of concert tickets to give away for new members paying $100 each. It was a gimmick, and it worked.
So I was just curious, are you a fan of Paul McCartney's music?
Well, he has written a number of songs over the years that...
Well, let's just say Dave didn't know the name of Paul's new album, but he does appreciate McCartney's offer to help the Earth.
How can you not be a fan of Paul McCartney?
John Larson, Como News 4.
He certainly has a...
Internationally, Friends of the Earth is known for its work to save rainforests. Locally, it's lobbying to stop the oil lease sale off the coast of Washington.
Question.
And special reports from Bill Close. This is News Center 10 at 6.
Here we are, the night of the concert of the year. Paul McCartney is scheduled to take center stage in less than 2 hours at Sun Devil Stadium at ASU. And already the fans are flocking to the stadium. Good evening, I'm Karen Carnes, and thank you for joining us tonight. The stage is set, the lights are ready to be turned on, and as you can imagine, the fans are ready to rock and roll. Dale Shornack is in the middle of all the excitement. Dale, how's the mood right now?
Well, the mood is building, the excitement is building, and of course, so are the crowds. Karen, you call it the concert of the year. I guess I'd have to say it's probably the concert of the decade. I don't know what could compare with this. And if you're thinking about coming out here tonight, or perhaps you don't have a ticket, we'll tell you in the next few minutes how you can still get a ticket to the Paul McCartney concert. We'll also give you some tips on where to park if you can come out here tonight, because of course, crowds in the area of Sun Devil Stadium. But first, we want to meet some die-hard McCartney fans. So right now, we have a lot of them lined up, waiting to get inside Sun Devil Stadium. The gates will be opening in just a few minutes. And while the concert starts at 8 o'clock tonight, a lot of these fans have been out here for hours. Fans gathered early this afternoon outside Sun Devil Stadium, hoping to catch a glimpse of a rock and roll legend.
For me, I've been a McCartney fan since I was 6 years old, so it's just, he doesn't seem real to me. You know, he's bigger than life. So I'm excited to see him. He's a rock god.
They advertise their devotion to McCartney with signs, shirts, and photographs. Most of these die-hard fans have seen McCartney on stage in some other town or some other decade.
Lucky enough to see him in San Diego in 1965, along with 3 other guys I were with.
Well, how do you think this concert tonight is going to compare to a Beatles concert back in 1965?
Well, I think since he's doing a lot of the Beatles songs, I think it'll be really good in that way. It's not just like Wings material or his solo material. It's like a mixture of all the stuff he's been doing through the years, so I think it'll be really exciting that way.
He's just great. I mean, like she was telling me, he only tours every 10 years. And so we're really excited about seeing him.
Suddenly, word spread that Paul was about to enter the stadium for a news conference.
As he passes by, then you can talk to him.
Paul's on his way?
Yeah. Please,
Sorry, wrong limo. Paul, it turns out, was a half-hour late for his news conference, but he did meet with reporters late this afternoon.
And at each of these press conferences, we'll try it here, see, anyone put their hand up who doesn't agree with saving the planet? You know, and obviously no hands ever go up, you know, so every country I've been to thinks it's a pretty hip idea, you know.
Well, here's a hip idea. Take a look at this. The gates have just opened at Sun Devil Stadium, and the first fans are making their way into what will be the concert of the year here at Sun Devil Stadium. Again, the concert starts at 8 o'clock tonight, and as you can see, the fans are just walking in. It's not any kind of mad rush. That's one thing that we've noticed about the crowd out here today. There has not been any trouble that we've seen, no pushing, shoving, anything like that, and the gates just open, people just walking in, and really a mild crowd out here, so that's something that's good to see. However, we won't be able to say the same thing about the traffic tie-ups that you might run into if you're coming out here tonight. Of course, with so many thousand fans coming into Sun Devil Stadium, you could expect some traffic jams in the Tempe area. Len Clements is actually just right up here a little ways. Len, what's it like from your perspective? Can you see any traffic problems developing right now?
Dale, it's flowing remarkably smoothly. We've been looking at the same thing you've been looking at, the people filing into Sun Devil Stadium. They just opened the gates. Here's a live shot from the air as we see it of the fans entering Tempe Sun Devil Stadium. And if we pan around here, you can see there's the stadium where they're going into. You can see the stage, that big black structure. And there's the parking lot. You can see it's about maybe half full right now. Of course, that'll be changing sometime real quick here. And if we take a look over at Scottsdale Road, there's a look at traffic, and it doesn't look bad at all. Now, of course, people still have, what, just over a little bit less than 2 hours to make it in here for the Paul McCartney concert tonight. But ASU and Tempe police are accustomed to handling the big crowds out here during the football games, and they seem to be doing a remarkable job for what work they have to do right now. Absolutely no problem as we see it from up here. Back to you, Dale.
Okay, Len, that's good news. Now, for people who may be sitting at home right now and don't have tickets to Paul McCartney, but you would really like to be out here tonight, well, believe it or not, it is not too late to get some tickets. We've been out here for about 3 or 4 hours this afternoon, and we've seen a lot of ticket scalpers, and not just the professional scalpers, but people who maybe bought 6 tickets, which was the most that you could buy, and they're out here trying to sell some others tonight. You just take a walk down Sun Devil or past Sun Devil Stadium here on the street, and you'll see a lot of people holding up tickets. And what we found is that the face value of the tickets, which is $30, they're trying to sell them for about $60, but one would guess that the price will probably be going down a bit as we get closer to 8 o'clock and the start of the concert time. So there are tickets still that can be purchased out here tonight, so if you want to see the concert, by all means, come on down here and try your luck with the scalpers. But that leads us to tonight's City Line poll question, and that is, should ticket scalping be legal in Arizona? Now, if you would like to vote, you can call our Channel 10 City Line at 252-1010. then press 1009, and we'll have the results tonight on News Center 10 Nightcast. We'll have more on the Paul McCartney concert coming up in just a few minutes, but right now, for a check on what's happening around the world and the state today, we'll go back to the studio and Karen Carnes.
Thanks a lot, Dale. Tommy Tenuta, the little valley boy we've...
Screaming teenagers have been a part of Paul McCartney's life since he was with the Beatles. Those teenagers have grown up, and many of them are still die-hard fans. In fact, a lot of them follow Paul McCartney around the world. Some are really lucky, and they even appear in his commercials. Well, Mike Makala caught up with a group of McCartney die-hard fans today in Scottsdale, and Mike tells us now that these people really like Paul McCartney.
Ann Stanton and friends got primed for the concert by watching themselves in a Paul McCartney ad. They met McCartney in Los Angeles. The fans caught his attention with this banner, which took 2 months to make. McCartney also took a liking to his likeness.
I had the doll, and she hand-painted that. I had this pin. I held the banner, and he said, it's great. He liked it a lot.
The banner and doll will be waved once again in McCartney's direction at tonight's concert. He won't have far to look. The fans scored fifth-row tickets in the middle. Stanton prides herself on her collection of McCartney and Beatles souvenirs and her 11-year membership in the McCartney fan club. McCartney, she says, is great to his true blue fans.
I told him, please, please come to Phoenix. My family wants to see you, and he's here. I'm not saying I made him come, but it makes me feel good to think that that helped. I told him every time he went by in the limo, please come to Phoenix.
Talk about a fan. Dorothy Morton has seen McCartney 9 times. Caught his act in Oslo, Norway at the start of the tour and his Berkeley concert just a few days ago.
It was a feeling of love just all around the whole stadium. I looked up at one point and saw all the people in the stadium swaying back and forth, and it was just a feeling of wholeness.
The McCartney diehards say they love the star for who he is now, not because he happened to be a Beatle.
It's not for the critics. It's not because he's a star. He is visiting us, and we are visiting him.
And the McCartney groupies, Dale, say that with a little luck, maybe they'll get backstage and get a chance to talk to the star after the concert.
We might have a few of them, as in the old Beatle days, passing out, and
right.
I guess with excitement,
that might happen.
being able to see Paul McCartney. Mike, thanks a lot. We're going to give you one more look at the fans now streaming into Sun Devil Stadium. Again, the gates opened just about 10 minutes ago, and once again, it's a very orderly crowd going into Sun Devil Stadium. No mad rush or anything to get in. Something interesting, some of these people probably got tickets through Friends of the Earth, believe it or not. Paul McCartney, very active in the Friends of the Earth organization, and they offered tickets for $150. Right now, we're going to go back to the studio and Karen Carnes.
Thanks a lot, Dale. Friends of the Earth is not alone in its effort to clean up our world. Arizona Clean and Beautiful is another organization. And welcome to a special edition of News Center 10 Nightcast. I'm Karen Carnes.
I'm Dale Shornack with live coverage of the concert event of the year. Paul McCartney brings his world tour to Sun Devil Stadium. Coming up on News Center 10, we'll hear his music. We'll talk to some of his fans, and we'll speak with the living legend himself.
And what about McCartney's contribution to music with the Fab Four? I'm Steve Kraft with a nostalgic look back at the Beatles and their music, songs that shaped a generation. These stories and much more next on News Center 10 Nightcast.
Well, there's a lot more.
It's 10 o'clock on Channel 10, and this is News Center 10 Nightcast.
Well, the concert of a lifetime, Paul McCartney, one of the greats in rock and roll history, is wowing them tonight in Tempe. Good evening, I'm Karen Carnes. We've put together a special newscast for you tonight to celebrate this magical event. 64,000 people have converged on Sun Devil Stadium for a chance to hear the former Beatle. We'll hear his music, and from his dedicated fans who have long awaited this concert, we'll also hear from McCartney and take a serious look at the music that came from his efforts with the Beatles. Now, to lead off our team coverage, Dale Shornack. You know, Dale, I'm kind of jealous since I'm back here in the newsroom, so I'll ask it. How's the concert going?
Well, I hate to make even more jealous, but it's great. It's a fabulous concert. They're just taking a break between songs right now. Otherwise, you'd probably hear a little bit of music coming out of Sun Devil Stadium. We managed to get into the stadium tonight to listen to a little bit of the concert, and I am by no means a professional concert reviewer, but to me, Paul McCartney, his voice, he sounded great. He was hitting all the notes. We were way up in the press boxes, though, so we're not getting direct sound, and but from what we could hear, it still sounded pretty good. But Bud Wilkinson, our critic at large, joins us tonight with his review of the concert. Bud, what did you think of it?
Don't you know, Dale, everyone's a critic. Actually, everyone who came here tonight probably wondered whether the 47-year-old former Beatle still had it. Well, so far tonight, he has not disappointed at all. Well, as fans already know, the show opens with a 15-minute montage of clips from the past. That started off on time at 8:01. Paul McCartney, his wife Linda, and the band took the stage at 8:15. And the show began on a mellow note, really, with older tunes. Following up, McCartney then kicked it into gear with such old Beatle favorites as Sgt. Pepper, Can't Buy Me Love, Good Day Sunshine. McCartney dedicated Fool on the Hill to his former Beatle mates, George Harrison, John Lennon, and Ringo Starr. What the show's lacked in pyrotechnics up until a few minutes ago has made up for in polish and style. McCartney's voice has been extremely strong, and his interplay with a crowd of 64,000 plus has been surprisingly intimate. Unless you're, though, in the first few rows, you may have missed a lot of it. Most people did key in on the 8 video monitors strategically placed near the stage, so you could see the show in that case. Recently, you did Band on the Run, Let It Be. Still coming up as an encore with Yesterday, Love Me Do, and Get Back. There have been some celebrities out here tonight. We were standing backstage, and the person we bumped into or walked by, and I'm kind of surprised maybe was John Denver coming down from a high to a valley low, maybe. I think, Dale, it's safe to say that Beatlemania is still with us. I mean, there are people here now waiting outside the stadium, clustered around the exit gate where Paul McCartney's limousine will come out. They're waiting to see him, hope to get a glimpse of him.
Well, I think that's interesting. There's an awful lot of people standing outside Sun Devil Stadium. These people have been here all night. They obviously did not have tickets, or maybe did not even care to be inside, but you can hear the music just fine out here.
You can see it, and there were cracks in the stadium where you could look in and actually see parts of the video monitor and see parts of the show even if you were outside.
And as you can see, some very young fans here, too. But people like us, 30 and 40-something, really enjoying the show tonight.
Cross-section crowd tonight.
But thank you very much. Well, just as Paul McCartney has done on every other stop on this tour, today he held a news conference here in the Valley of the Sun. It, however, got started more than an hour late. But Paul did say during that news conference he plans to tour again.
I think people assume when us guys and the Stones and the Who and people like us of our age come on tour, I think the first assumption is, oh, well, this has got to be the last time. I've never said that, and it certainly doesn't feel to me like the last time. It feels really good. Before the tour, you know, I was wondering whether it would be a bit of a headache, you know, and it would be sort of physically hard to do, because there's a lot of singing there, you know, like about, what, something like 2¼ hours a night. But in fact, I found it real easy and a real pleasure.
McCartney joked with reporters saying no, he's never had a facelift, refusing to say what he really thought about New Kids on the Block. And yes, he does like rap music, but when it came to choosing songs for his tour, Paul picked what he likes best.
The nice thing about it in the end was that I found myself doing songs that I thought, oh, this is going to be, you know, just rehash, like Hey Jude or something. But as we rehearsed it, and particularly as we took it out to audiences, I realized I'd never done it live before, Hey Jude. Similarly, Fool on the Hill I'd never played live. And Sgt. Pepper had never played live. So it was quite a thrill to actually play them as if they were kind of new numbers, you know. So in many ways, they, to me, are like some of the freshest numbers in the show.
And we had a little controversy to boot as McCartney's people banned a reporter and photographer from the Arizona Republic and Phoenix Gazette. They did not like an article that the reporter wrote about Paul McCartney. Well, people started gathering this afternoon, probably about 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon outside of Sun Devil Stadium. By the time gates opened at 6 o'clock, thousands of fans were standing in line. It was a steady, non-stop stream of people through the turnstiles right up until the concert began at 8 o'clock tonight. An interesting mix, this crowd of McCartney fans. Some are teenagers just discovering his music. Most are adults, 30 or 40-something, who probably got Beatle albums at home. Some are even grandparents. Paul himself, you've noticed, is getting a little gray. Well, tonight they all packed into Sun Devil Stadium for the concert of the year.
Real excited. I've never seen him, never come close to anybody like this.
It's just like, he's like, I don't know, history, you know?
We flew in from San Diego on the 5:55 flight, and we have a 5:55 in the morning flight out. We go back, we have to be at work at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Is this going to be worth it, do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Where are you from?
Come here, Toronto, Markham, Ontario.
You did not come all the way from Canada just for this concert.
Both of us did. He came to Toronto, but we couldn't get tickets. As soon as we found out he was coming to Phoenix, we got on the plane and came.
So as you see, a lot of people came a long way for this concert, and as we pointed out a little bit ago, people came here without tickets tonight just to stand outside and listen to the music. But if you came here without a ticket and wanted to get inside, well, it seemed that finding tickets around here was not a problem tonight. You can scalp tickets legally in Arizona, and premium seats tonight were going for about $100, and the face value of those tickets was $30. Well, that brings us to tonight's News Center 10 City Line phone poll, which asks, should ticket scalping be illegal in Arizona? To vote, you can call 252-1010, then press 1009. We'll have the results later in newscast. Well, a lot of the fans who were showing up for tonight's concert sadly wanted to indulge in some illegal activities, specifically maybe some drinking, maybe some drugs before they came to this concert. Well, they found themselves in a bit of a surprise tonight and also in a bit of trouble. There was a special drug task force tonight just looking for people who might be going to this concert and thinking about doing some drugs. Art Navarro joins us now with that story. Art?
Dale, the target of the operation, the casual drug user, is all part of the county's Do Drug, Do Time program. Here tonight, about 40 to 50 officers, detectives belonging to the User Accountability Task Force. They were looking for any drug-related activity in the parking lots around Sun Devil Stadium.
The operation relied solely on undercover detective work, so every officer's identity is concealed. The job, nothing glamorous, just to walk around designated parking lots. Very time-consuming, and with the uncertainty, a bit dangerous.
You have to do as good a job as you can. The other feeling that comes from time to time is, I'm wasting my time. A lot of times these operations you'll go 2, 3, maybe 4 hours without even seeing anything.
Fortunately, these detectives from Chandler and Gilbert didn't have to wait that long. About a half hour into the operation, they spotted an apparent drug user, and a bust went down.
I just need a little bit to get, before I get in the place.
I'll give you a small bud.
Anything I'd appreciate it. Could I get a paper from you, too?
Detectives confiscated about 4 grams of marijuana, enough to make an arrest.
I hate to say this, but we have to put handcuffs on you to walk you over there.
Am I going to be released in time to go to the concert?
Probably not.
James Robert Hoyt never got close to Sun Devil Stadium. The evening ended early. His arrest, the booking, and eventually a night in the Maricopa County Jail.
I got caught. Nothing I can do about it. Can't hide the fact. I know, probably I'll leave it alone now. Maybe it took something this serious to make me realize. We're not just only going to go after the drug dealers, but we're going to have to go after the people who use it. And at this point, if they use it and decide to use it here, we're going to arrest them for it.
What a view we've got up here. One of the reasons that Paul McCartney is on this tour is to secure his reputation as a superstar. Of course, he burst onto the world scene with the Beatles. And when you think of the Fab Four, you got to wonder, 100 years from now, what place will they occupy in the pantheon of musical greats?
It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog. It's been a hard day's night, I should be sleeping like a log.
They sold the most records of any group. They were to many ears the musical spirit of the 1960s, the champion band in rock and roll history. Paul McCartney was a key ingredient of the Beatles' success, and 20 years after the breakup of the band, he remains one of the most popular musicians on earth.
So I hope you see.
But how will history remember the Fab Four? Leave it to the music historians.
They were a spectacular group, and they were a good musical group. That is, they were trained well musically, and they composed music which was quality music, and I think history is going to treat them very good.
Will we say Lennon and McCartney in the same breath with Beethoven, Brahms, Bach, Handel, Mendelssohn?
No, it's not the same. It's not the same as that, but it's equal on its own.
Perhaps it's not fair to compare John, Paul, George, and Ringo with Ludwig, Johann, and the rest of the old masters. The Beatles were pop musicians, not classical artists. But some of their songs may come to be regarded as true classics anyway.
I think a couple of Beatles tunes, don't ask me to name them at this point, but I think a couple of those tunes will probably be part of that canon of classical pieces, classical pop pieces. But I don't think anybody will consider that the Beatles were any sort of monumentally different watershed in music. That's my personal opinion.
That's a statement that could prove hazardous to your health.
I know a lot of people will jump on me for that.
That's right. Paul McCartney was telling Tchaikovsky and Beethoven the news all night. Now, even if the Beatles don't end up getting ranked with Beethoven or Tchaikovsky, these music historians say they probably will be ranked with some of the best tunes done by George and Ira Gershwin. Check out this list. Cole Porter, Irving Berlin, and Stephen Foster going way back. And Karen, I guess we can say that's not bad company.
Not a bad list there.
You bet.
Thanks a lot, Steve. We'll tell you more about tonight's festivities later on in our newscast. And coming up in our next segment, a homecoming for another rock star, plus the latest on the little boy who needs our prayers. Tommy Tenuta will have an update as a search cast in Sports Extra, a Cactus League report, and a Cub favorite. And we'll return to Sun Devil Stadium for a live report on the McCartney concert.
And the stars are out now, but there might be
stadium for one last look at Paul McCartney. Stay with us.
I hate to see things go so wrong.
The concert is a scalper's paradise. Scalpers received hundreds of dollars for premium seats, and that brings us to tonight's News Center 10 City Line poll. We asked this question: should ticket scalping be illegal in Arizona? Kind of a close one tonight. 57% said yes, it should be illegal. 43% said no. Well, Dale Shornack did not need a ticket to get into the concert tonight because he's a big shot in the media. He got in free. How about a couple of final thoughts tonight?
Okay, well, the concert's just about to wrap up right now. They haven't turned the lights on at the stadium yet, but they played their last song. The fans are still cheering and trying to get Paul to come out for one more encore. Well, fans of so many different ages at this Paul McCartney concert tonight that reviews of the concert range from groovy to gnarly, dude. We'll let you make up your own mind about Paul McCartney as we leave you tonight with a little bit of rock and roll history. Paul McCartney in concert at Sun Devil Stadium, and what a night it was. Good night.
$64,000 fans lucky enough to hold Paul McCartney tickets tonight are making their way to Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe. The rock legend takes center stage in just about 3 hours. Good evening, everyone. Cameron is among those in the concert crowd tonight, so he will not be joining us. You know, Paul McCartney has visited Arizona several times. In fact, he owns property in Tucson. But this is his first performance ever in Arizona. Now, we have a lot to tell you about the concert, of course, the traffic in getting here, some of those pre-concert parties, and we're also going to be doing a little reminiscing. But first, we begin with the man himself. Dan Davis just talked with Paul McCartney at a news conference, and Dan, from the interviews I've seen, he really seems to be a genuine, down-to-earth guy.
Yeah, he really was, Heidi. When you say we just came from the news conference, you're exactly right. We just ran from the north end of the stadium down here to get here on time because Paul McCartney was about an hour and 10 minutes late coming in from Tucson on his airplane. Now, if you can hear some music behind me, they are going through the sound check right now, so they are getting ready for the concert. Paul McCartney is in the stadium. Now, we are happy to say that he did recognize the News Channel 3 crew from Sunday's news conference up in Berkeley. And as you say, Heidi, he was just as friendly and happy to see everyone today as he has been all along the tour. You know, you have to think that after 25 or 30 years, the guy ought to be tired of answering dumb questions, but apparently he's not. He's very cordial and very happy. A couple of interesting things he said today. He said it was really interesting seeing his young daughter go through the teen idol stage. And who did she idolize? Donny Osmond. He also said that one of the things we talked about was tonight's concert. And he says one of the things he's proud of is that when you come to the encore tonight and come to the final bow, only 6 people will be out there because only a few people are doing a great job. Now, as we look across the street at the south end of Sun Devil Stadium, a few people have gathered, but they're not going to open the gates till 6 o'clock tonight. If you're going to the concert, standard rules about no alcohol, no containers, no coolers, that kind of thing. And there's also the rule of no cameras. Now, Paul McCartney's been around for a long, long time, and we asked him today, why not let people in with their cameras tonight?
I don't know, man. I don't know. They don't let them bring cameras in any of the gigs we do. Don't ask me. Just ask the people who don't let them bring cameras in.
Aren't you their boss?
It's not me. I'm always standing there.
Well, I asked him if isn't he the boss. He can tell him. He says, well, you got to give those guys something to do. That he said he really doesn't care. He normally poses for most pictures. Now, as we mentioned a few minutes before, the band is going through their warm-up right now, so they're ready, and I guess the crowd is too.
All right, Dan, thank you very much. Maybe we'll have a chance to see more of that interview with Paul McCartney a little later in one of our newscasts. If you're going to head out to Sun Devil Stadium, if you're getting ready to do so now, they are asking that you not show up until 6 o'clock. That gives you a good hour before the gates even open. Now, of course, the big headache is going to be getting here, and Tom Olson is in News Chopper 3. He is not in News Chopper 3, so he can't give us a traffic update, but he will a little later on, and we'll be able to tell you some of the best tips to keep in mind when you're going to head out to Sun Devil Stadium. We are going to tell you all about the parties, the nostalgia, and of course the big event itself in just a few minutes. But first, let's go back to the studio and Mike Moore. He has the day's top stories. Mike?
Thank you, Heidi. We'll be looking forward to that report a little bit later on. Everybody in the Valley is aware that Paul McCartney is set to take center stage out at Sun Devil Stadium in just about 2.5 hours. Heidi Fogelsong has more on that for us.
All right. Thank you, Mike. If you are planning to head out to Sun Devil Stadium, they ask you not arrive until 6 p.m. That gives you an hour before gates even open. Tom Olson is in News Chopper 3 now with an update for us on the traffic.
Well, Heidi, it really doesn't look all that bad as we hover above Sun Devil Stadium and looking down at the various streets. In fact, photographer Scott Bloom will now let you have kind of a view as to what's going on below us. But if you've just been beamed into the valley from another planet, let us tell you that Paul McCartney will be performing in concert here. It is rush hour. And in addition to that, classes over here at Arizona State University have many night classes here tonight. So this is the reason that folks do not want you to come into the area before 6 o'clock. The Motor Division of the Tempe Police Department says it'll be a lot easier if you come here after 6, and that will get the traffic much less congested. We'll be back in a little bit to see if we can update you on the situation from up here.
All right. Thank you, Tom. The weather is also another big concern. Obviously, the concert is being held outdoors at Sun Devil Stadium. We've had rain showers on and off all day. It looks as if there will be a few sprinkles tonight. It's a little cloudy outside right now, but so far, no showers. Right now, we want to give you a taste of what you're going to see and hear at McCartney's concert tonight. This is from his weekend concert in Berkeley. We'll be right back.
If it weighs a ton, as long as you and I are here, put it there.
Sun Devil Stadium is the place to be tonight if you are a Paul McCartney fan or if you're an ex-Beatles fan. The concert gets underway at 8 o'clock, and right now things are pretty slow. Not that many people have arrived as of yet. You know, the hassle factor seems to go sky high when you have a huge concert like this one on a work night and a school night. Die-hard fans probably took the whole day off, and those of you who did work are probably just now gearing up to get into that concert mode. And you have to have a party sometimes to get into that kind of frame of mind, and Kate Lee has found a party along Mill Avenue. She joined us from there now.
That's right, Heidi. Lots of concert goers are just making a night of it on the town down here in downtown Tempe. We're at the Bandersnatch Pub on 5th Street, where, as you can see, a big crowd is gathering to have a party tonight. They're already starting to go wild. They have a special concert menu over here, as you can see, sandwiches and drinks for a pre-show snack. And they've been piping out music from who else? Of course, Paul McCartney, to get everybody in the mood over here. And one local radio station, which isn't hard to tell which one it is, KZZP, is doing an outrageous contest over there for front row McCartney tickets. People are going to be doing crazy things, like a woman is eating worms. I don't know why. Another woman is shaving her husband's legs. It's all what people won't do for front row seats, right? Now let's take a quick walk outside down here along 5th Street and see what you can see as people are trickling into the concert. It is kind of a slow trickle right now, but people are going to be crazy. As you can see, Sun Devil Stadium is right down the street. People are starting to head that way. I imagine in a couple of hours you won't be able to move down here, Heidi. A wild and crazy night.
It sure is going to be. Just a reminder, in case you've just joined us or you've been living in a dark cave for a while, the concert, Paul McCartney's concert, does get underway at 8 p.m. tonight. Again, you are asked if you are planning to attend the concert, not to get here until 6 o'clock. We have to realize that ASU is a place where there are a lot of night classes going on. We understand Wednesday night is the busiest night of the week for these classes, so you have that kind of traffic to contend with as well. Right now, I believe we're going to go to Tom Olson in News Chopper 3, and he can give us a traffic update. Obviously, this is rush hour 2, Tom. How are things going?
Actually, everything from our vantage point is looking pretty good. We expect probably things to heat up around 6:30 or so, but we do want to pass along, as Scott Bloom takes a look at the traffic below us, we want to pass along this note, which comes from the Tempe Traffic Department. If you are working and are in the Tempe area at this moment and are watching us, take it easy after work. Maybe stop by and have a refreshment or a cold drink somewhere, because it is going to be heavy later on in the evening, and they would like you to know that it's going to take a while to get out of the immediate area. For one thing, there is usually about a half-hour backup, as everybody who lives in the valley knows. If they are heading east along one of the freeways, well, this is going to make things a little bit more difficult than that backup. Some people said earlier, Heidi, 2 hours. If you're judging by the pictures we're looking at now, yeah, 2 hours is stretching it, but it will be heavier later.
I'll tell you what, there are a few clouds hanging around, but we think it's going to be a great night for the concert. Royal and I will be back with the official forecast in just a minute.
It's, I don't know really. It's, you know, it's the trick of touring. You basically do the same show each night. What keeps me fresh is the audience. That changes every night. Nearly always, anyway.
Paul, did you change the shows for England and Japan?
And that was Paul McCartney at a news conference about 30 minutes ago here in the Valley, gearing up for his big concert tonight. Jim, I think we've been worried about those rain showers. It's pretty nice right now. I wish it could stay this way.
Well, I'll say we. Royal and I, we think it's going to. Basically, we had a few showers this morning, as you know, a few sprinkles. We're looking west. There are a few dark clouds out there, but everything is coming from the south, and as we look more...
Send it back to Heidi, who is at Sun Devil Stadium, the site of the big Paul McCartney concert.
That's right, and yes, you are a big Suns fan. Thank you, Mike. You know, Paul McCartney has a special place in the hearts of the 30-something and 40-something crowd. It's a chance for many of them to relive that precious youth. A nostalgic look back when News Channel 3 continues.
I think people assume when us guys and the Stones and the Who and people like us of our age come on tour, I think the first assumption is, oh, well, this has got to be the last time.
Well, don't be surprised if you see some folks with a few gray strands in their hair that are coming to the concert tonight. That's because the baby boomers of today gave birth to Beatlemania almost 30 years ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
1964, the year of the British invasion, the arrival of the Fab Four, John, Paul, George, and Ringo. They took the country by storm, and America would never be the same. Then, or now.
Certifying that this is the Beatle bedding they slept on, and who slept on what sheet and belongs to who, Ringo, George, or Paul.
I've gone to see most of the groups, and I met them all. And now I've really met the Beatles, and now my life's complete.
Well, it's rock and roll. Everybody enjoys it, all ages, you know.
It sounds like you have sort of a crush on Paul McCartney.
Yes, that's true. I love all the Beatles, but Paul's my favorite.
The lyrics are appealing. It's good, fun, clean music, and we all enjoy that.
Yep, that was yesterday. But just listen to what Paul said about tomorrow.
Who knows, at 40 we may not know how to write songs anymore.
And yes, Paul can still write and play music at the age of 47. The concert gets underway at 8 o'clock. We're going to leave you now with a taste of his concert over the weekend in Berkeley. We'll see you back here at 6 o'clock. Good night.
Oh, you got me dancing in a bigger way. Don't know I'm coming, I'm going, I'm early on late. Back around and ring I go. I gotta know.
His music spans generations. Tonight, Paul McCartney lets it be in Tempe. Traveling the long and winding road. The show is 2 hours away, and Paul McCartney fans are now beginning to file into the stadium. Good evening, everyone. Those old enough remember when he was a member of the Fab Four. Tonight, Paul McCartney gets ready to perform here at Sun Devil Stadium. You know, the hype and excitement surrounding this concert really rivals that of the good old days. In fact, they are just about to open the gates to Sun Devil Stadium so fans can start filing in. That's where Dan Davis is right now. We join him from below as we begin our special coverage of tonight's concert. Dan?
Well, I'll tell you, there is an air of excitement out here. People are very anxious to get inside and very anxious for that concert to get going. The gates are supposed to open at 6 o'clock. We can look across here to the southwest gate at Sun Devil Stadium. You can see hundreds and hundreds of people have already lined up, but as yet, the first person has not gone through the turnstile. I know up in Berkeley on both Saturday and Sunday night, the concert started about a half hour late, so it wouldn't be surprising if the same thing happens here. Now, Paul McCartney is in the stadium right now. They just finished their sound check about 45 minutes ago, and we assume that he's now down in the dressing room and probably having a little dinner and relaxing before tonight's show. About an hour and a half ago, Paul McCartney met with reporters, and one of the interesting things he talked about was what it's like to be a rock idol and then see his kids go through that teenage idol stage.
Thank you. Oh. It was funny, actually. It was cute, because my daughter Mary, who's now 20, coming up to 21, she was in love with Donny Osmond when she was little, and when he was little, and she used to really love him, and he was once on the television and he was singing The 12th of Never right to the camera, and she turned to us, she said, "He loves me. He's singing this to me." And we didn't tell her he wasn't. So, you know, I think it's quite nice, really. You know, it's good fun, isn't it? You know, crazes and stuff. We all went through them. I hope they keep coming myself. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is, you know, one of the latest ones. It's a groove. Who cares?
Hey, he represents a lot of generations. Now, believe it or not, there was some controversy at today's news conference. McCartney's publicist is very upset at a writer, Dennis Love, for the Republic because of a scathing article that was in yesterday morning's paper. So they simply banned anyone from the Republic from attending today's news conference. They felt it was a personal attack on Paul McCartney, and they simply wanted nothing to do with the Arizona newspaper and the article that was in there yesterday.
All right. Thank you, Dan. But when the McCartney concert was announced back in February, there was a mad rush to try and get tickets. And those who didn't get tickets thought that they definitely did not have a chance to see tonight's concert. But as 3 on Your Side reporter Jack Salvatore tells us now that apparently isn't the case, and that you can actually get seats up until the last minute tonight. Jack, how'd that happen?
Well, that appears to be the case, Heidi. Let's take one look right now at what Dan Davis was talking about from an elevated location. These are probably the people who waited on that lottery line and got those tickets, and as you see, there are hundreds and hundreds of them already, even at this early hour. As far as this concert is concerned, those people did wait for the tickets, but there were other ways to get tickets today, and even though the concert was a sellout, there were still bargains to be had.
The sign says the hunt is on, but today at least, it doesn't mean a movie.
it means McCartney tickets. From homemade signs in our KTVK newsroom to newspaper ads, the tickets are available, but for how much? It looks like not as much as some sellers would like. Oh, there were still some ads asking $700 for 2 tickets like this one, or this one asking $250 each. But there were others offering to sell at the ticket's face value, $35. Perhaps most surprising was the ad that appeared in this morning's newspaper offering to sell tickets at $10 below the face price for $25. We called the broker who told us he had simply too many tickets and he wanted to just cut his losses.
We've been buying tickets from people that are trying to sell tickets. We ran out of tickets.
That apparently was not a problem at Jack's Tickets in Tempe. This afternoon, there was a steady stream of customers in the small shop. Bruce Gensberg told us McCartney was a financial success.
They're unbelievably good. This is better than I expected. The last couple of days, the phones have been ringing like crazy. People looking for seats all the time.
Ditto that for street scalpers, who even at 3 this afternoon were out offering tickets to the big show. There was a brief period this afternoon when you didn't have to deal with scalpers. The concert promoter released 2,000 tickets to the Dillard's box office. They lasted about 1 hour. If you want to get tickets now, and we can see right behind us here, the people are beginning to go in, but there are still some scalpers apparently doing business down in the corner there of College Avenue, as you can see, and so there might be a possibility, Heidi, for some of the people who, the latecomers, so to speak, to pick up some tickets through a scalper.
All right, thank you, Jack. Now, if you are planning to go to the show and you haven't left yet, there are no two ways about it. You're going to hit some traffic. If you hear all the chopper noise, it's because there are several choppers up in the sky, including News Chopper 3. That's where Tom Olson is right now to tell us where some of the trouble spots are.
We can tell you off the top, Heidi, that apparently as you look at the parking lot below us at Sun Devil Stadium, and then as we move from the parking lot to Scottsdale Road, apparently most of the folks who are going to come to this concert will indeed wait until after 6 o'clock to drive here, because outside of Mill Avenue, which appears to be a little bit backed up, there is not a problem on the roads leading to Sun Devil Stadium at this time. I-10 has had its usual bottleneck around the Broadway curve, but that's simply because of rush hour and more than likely not anything to do with the concert itself. So evidently people have been listening and reading the newspapers, and they understand that please don't arrive here before 6. No bottlenecks at this point.
We're glad to hear it. Thank you, Tom. We're going to have more from the Sun Devil Stadium a little later on, but right now we go to Mike Moore in the studio with the day's news. Mike?
Okay, Heidi, we'll check back with you in just a bit. How are things shaping up?
So far, so good. They are still waiting to open the gates here at Sun Devil Stadium. Still ahead, however, on News Channel 3, we're going to talk about recycling here in Arizona. An effort is underway to make curbside recycling available.
Who knows, at 40 we may not know how to write songs anymore.
In the infancy of his career, Paul McCartney wondered if he'd still be writing songs at 40. Today, the former Beatle is 47, and yes, he is still doing it, thank you. And fans are still in love with his music. Paul McCartney also hopes his fans fall in love with one of his causes, and that is saving the environment. For Arizonans, it might be a little easier to do if a comprehensive recycling bill passes through the legislature. Jay Dapper joins us with more on exactly how that is doing in the state legislature. Jay? It's definitely windy out here at Sun Devil Stadium, but it is not raining. And Royal, that's a good sign.
That is good news, as a matter of fact, Heidi. The reason you're seeing some wind out there is because there's some showers well to the south of us, and some of the wind is blowing out of those very, very minor showers. And at this point, we're just calling for some sprinkles over in Tempe during the nighttime hours tonight. We think the main rain is going to stay in western Arizona tonight, so it should be a pretty nice night. Let's check out the number.
Changes as well. It could make for interesting racing this year.
Aside from the crashes, it seems like those races appear to be a mile and a thrill a minute.
Oh, absolutely, and it's here Sunday.
Okay. Well, Heidi Fogelsong is going to get us caught up to speed now on the doings out at Sun Devil Stadium. Heidi?
Well, Mike, I don't know if you've ever wondered what the inside of a Superstars tour bus looks like. We're going to show you in just a minute. But first, a sentimental trip back to the good old days. Concert coordinators probably have the toughest job of all. They have to get the stage set and put everything in place, from people to the mode of transportation the star of the show will be using. So what happens when the big bus that's going to pick McCartney up after the concert breaks down in Chandler? You deal with it, as we found out when we caught up with the bus earlier today.
Fixing a flat tire is something Mark Anderson does a lot around town, but this is no ordinary job. He's repairing the bus someone very important will be riding in tonight.
He's singing tonight somewhere here in the city.
Who is it?
He's from England, part of the Beatles. I'm
going to go see him, I think.
You going to go see him?
I think.
You think they're going to give you some free tickets for helping them here?
Oh, no, I bought tickets a long time ago.
I guess being tight-lipped is part of the job when you're dealing with a celebrity. After all, you're supposed to act cool and collected around these big stars. It's something bus driver Ross Rylance found a bit tough to do the first time he played chauffeur for McCartney.
The first night I did it, my heart was palpitating most of the evening, and I had to take a long walk right before we left, to, you know, so I wasn't, you know, because I'm a fan too, you know, it's Paul McCartney.
But Ross is now quite comfortable maneuvering this executive office on wheels, plush accommodations to take McCartney and his entourage to Sky Harbor Airport after tonight's concert.
What's Paul McCartney like? Everyone's going to want to know that.
Well, I haven't said more than hello and goodbye to him, but he seems like a very amiable guy. He's always happy. His entourage is quite pleasant to work with, very professional, probably the most professional outfit I've ever seen.
After the bus is fixed, Ross invites our photographer to hop aboard and lead the way to Sun Devil Stadium. And Ross shares his personal thoughts on working with a guy like Paul.
For me, it's an honor. I was a Beatles fan. You know, I got one of the guys right here in the coach with me, and heck, I've reached out and touched him.
Ross also told us that the McCartney concert is the best out. It does get underway here at Sun Devil Stadium in an hour and a half. We hope all of you going to the concert do enjoy it. We'll have complete concert coverage tonight at 10 o'clock. Have a good evening, everyone.
And Jim Howard, Arizona's news channel, News Channel 3.
A nighttime flight over the Paul McCartney concert. Thousands have turned out to hear the magic of his music in Tempe. Good evening, everyone. Cameron is among those who have gone out to listen to tonight's concert. This is Paul McCartney's first performance in the Valley, and from Beatle fans to wing worshipers to the just plain curious, folks turned out in droves to see it all. Dan Davis is at Sun Devil Stadium now with more on tonight's event.
Heidi, it's been a great night out here in Tempe, and from the crowd reaction we've heard throughout the concert, a lot of people are realizing a dream tonight. They've just finished playing Live and Let Live. The crowd is going wild right now. The concert started just about on time at 8 o'clock. First, there was a 14-minute videotape pretty much chronicling the history of the Beatles and Paul McCartney. And then came the moment that many people had waited years to see. After opening tonight's concert with Figure of Eight from his Flowers in the Dirt album, McCartney went on to play Jet, and his third song was Got to Get You Into My Life. McCartney does not stop during his 2-hour performance, and by the time this evening is over, he will have played 29 songs, about half of them from his old Beatle days. During a news conference this afternoon, McCartney said that one of the things he's most proud about during his world tour is how much music 6 people can play.
Nobody takes an orchestra. I don't care who you are, you know, unless it's Elton John at Carnegie Hall. But, you know, so brass, we made the choice, really, and I'm glad, actually. It's one of the things I'm really proud of this tour, that at the end of tonight's show, there's only 6 people take the bow. And we make a lot of noise for 6 people.
Not just a lot of noise, but some great music. They've just started playing Hey Jude, which is the final song of the concert before they come back out for the encore. which includes Paul McCartney doing a solo on yesterday. Now, a couple of observations having been around the McCartney World Tour over the last couple of days. Security extremely tight. No way you're going to get to know Paul McCartney personally, but he does do some nice touches when you're around. Today, when he came into the news conference, the first thing he said to me was, hey, you were in Berkeley, weren't you? And then he kind of mentions, we're old friends, and that makes you feel kind of good. And then when we were down backstage recording that first song, his drummer, Chris Whitten, came out, checking out the crowd, and he says that it's a job, but it's still a thrill to come out and hear 60,000 people screaming at you. He says that when he first tried out for Paul McCartney and his World Tour band, he was so nervous that he thought he had blown his chances of playing, but he got a second chance, did much better, and he's pretty happy to be out here tonight. It gives you some idea of the stature of Paul McCartney among the musicians who are getting a chance to play. Obviously, the place to be tonight, if you're not in the band, is in the stadium. Not everybody could make it. A lot of activity around Sun Devil Stadium. Among the people milling around the crowd outside listening to the music is Cater Lee.
Dan, crowd is an understatement out here. Around Sun Devil Stadium tonight, there are wall-to-wall people everywhere. People buying and selling tickets, people having fun, and most of all, people enjoying good music. Long lines. McCartney fans have been standing in them since tickets went on sale. How long did you stand in line to get tickets?
10.5 hours.
But this is not a line to get into the concert. These people are waiting to get a bite to eat before the show.
This is worse probably than the waiting line at the stadium.
Not really. The lines at the stadium were pretty long as well, and full of true Beatle maniacs. What is this you have on here?
Paul McCartney, Sgt. Pepper suit.
So you're really in the mood.
Goes with the watch.
That's an authentic Beatles watch?
Yeah. Beatles fan club kind of watch.
I've got Beatle records I've saved through the years, picked up at garage sales, different places, and some that I bought originally back in the 60s.
Are you selling them tonight?
I'm trying to. I haven't sold any.
Tonight you get to see them?
Tonight. Tonight. Right. I can go to my grave tomorrow. I've accomplished everything I wanted to.
Section 20, we're on row 24, seats 18, 17, 45 apiece.
But not everyone came to see Paul McCartney. A popular concert brings out wheelers and dealers, and customers trying to get a bargain.
10 minutes, they'll be going for $5.
Maybe.
Not maybe.
Let's hope not.
Waiting to get tickets at the last minute. We'll see how desperate they get.
And here's a way to get a real bargain. Relax, stay outside, and listen to the concert for free.
Sounds like it'd be a great concert. I wish I was in there.
Why aren't you?
Well, we sold our tickets.
It makes you want to go inside. It makes you wish you were inside so bad.
I tell you what, that is so true. Being out here makes you realize how much fun it would be to be in there. It sounds great, Heidi. Right now he's playing Hey Jude. Concert should be over in about 20 minutes, and then it's going to be a traffic madhouse around Sun Devil Stadium. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Cater. There are some at tonight's concert who don't have McCartney's music on their mind. A countywide police task force saw the event instead as an opportunity to go after the casual drug user. Undercover cops roamed the parking lot, and they found what they were looking for.
Here we are. We're coming, and we're
now
going.
I'm going to see Jan.
Happy concert goers on their way to see McCartney. An unhappy would-be concert goer. One of the first arrested tonight by the Maricopa County User Accountability Task Force.
I have nothing on me. I'm going to spend the night in jail for nothing.
Others were more philosophical.
I was the ones being stupid, so I got caught.
More than 40 officers from county police agencies, looking like concert goers themselves, fanned out through the stadium parking lot in search of the casual drug user. They found them.
The individual was sitting in a car and was contacted by one of the officers. They asked if he had any marijuana. The guy pulled it out and showed it to him.
This woman claims she was set up.
They offered us. They offered to sell us.
Oh, we're not doing that. If they bring up the idea of drugs, we will purport to be drug sellers. They have to bring up the idea first.
The amount of drugs confiscated was small, but officers said the point of the operation was not to bring in a big haul, but to get out a message.
If this operation elicits an attitude from the public that drugs are unacceptable, out where there are children, where there are families, where there are people that don't want drug usage, then it will be successful.
So instead of hearing Paul McCartney tonight, these people will be spending a hard day's night in jail, with plenty of time to reflect on what they've missed.
I'll think about missing it for a long time. Now reality will set in. Maybe, I'll think a little bit now.
Okay, guys, let's get this right. To calculate